This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. The Sandigan cleared a former Cebu province municipal accountant of malversation but convicted a former village treasurer in Baguio City in separate suits. A decision by the Sandigan 4th Division on the 23rd of May said former Common Town accountant Dina Barriga is not guilty of malversation and illegal use of public funds. Barriga, along with the town's former mayor, Virginio Villamar, who died in 2017, were charged in 1996 and 1997 involving 267,537 pesos in public funds for the construction of spring docks, deep wells, and waterworks systems, for 23,047 pesos for the purchase of water pipes, and a third case for 1,305 pesos for a spring box in a village that was not among the beneficiaries of the Central Visayas Water and Sanitation Project Trust Fund, a joint project between the town and the Australian government. In clearing Barriga, the court said the mere fact that accused Villamar is the municipal mayor and accused Barriga is the municipal accountant is certainly not sufficient to justify the conclusion that they conspired to commit a crime. Indeed, suspicion, no matter how strong, must never swat judgment. Where there is reasonable doubt, the accused must be acquitted even though their innocence may not have been established, the court said. The anti-graft court, however, affirmed the decision of the Baguio City Regional Trial Court Branch 5 that found Romel Beltran, former treasurer of Barangay Camp 7, guilty of falsification of public documents and malversation. It ruled that Beltran made false entries in the summary of collections and deposits by altering the money remitted, ranging from 300 pesos to 1,000 pesos. The decision dated the 19th of May and uploaded recently upheld Beltran's sentence of up to 8 years imprisonment and 4 counts of falsification and malversation. The Sandigan anti-graft court convicted a Calamba City, Laguna employee in connection with a 2010 scam that involved 26.6 million pesos in public funds. The money was siphoned off following the loss of 2 of the town's checkbooks containing 200 pieces of blank checks. In a 45-page decision dated the 23rd of May, the Sandigan 4th Division found Administrative Assistant Eva Dijamco guilty of 25 counts of malversation and sentenced her to up to 12 years in prison for each count. Dijamco prepared the accountant's advice forms, covering checks for the signature of city accountant Carminia Espiridion. Espiridion died while on trial for 30 counts of estafa before the Calamba Regional Trial Court. The court said while there was no direct evidence of Dijamco and Espiridion's participation in forging the signatures of the city treasurer, mayor, and vice mayor, it cannot be disputed that the checks in question passed through both accused Espiridion and Dijamco because they were able to input and confirm the check numbers and payees. Cleared were former city treasurer Liberty Toledo and revenue collection clerk Nathaniel Ferrapia. Toledo reported on the 15th of April, 2010 the alleged loss of 2 blank check booklets for the city's general fund and special educational fund. An audit later discovered that out of the 200 missing checks, 30 were issued with forged signatures to businesses that did not have valid contracted obligations with the city. The Philippine National Police, PNP, will investigate the policeman who went viral on TikTok for allegedly coming out as gay. For his TikTok video in which he exposed his gender, a police officer in Lanao del Sur is being investigated and could face penalties. The officer was named as Patrol Mabalgabid, said Meraham Zalik. According to a band's report, on TikTok, Meraham Zalik is known as Sergeant Gamadi and has millions of followers. His account appears to have been disabled, therefore it can no longer be seen in such an app. In one of his popular videos, the cops just said, "There are a lot of people asking me if I'm really gay." Shortly after, there was a sound effect of something breaking, and Meraham Zalik was stuck, exclaiming, "I shoot a car," spoken with a homosexual tone. The Directorate for Investigation and Detective Management, DIDM, has ordered the regional director of the Bangsamoro Police to investigate Meraham Zalik as a result of the video. He also stated that if feasible, they would charge him. The PNP has previously stated that they are not opposed to homosexual and lesbian cops. The PNP issued the statement in response to the Ang Ladlad gay rights group's claim that numerous PNP officers are members of the LGBT community. A personnel of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, BIR, was caught after allegedly extorting money from a business owner in Zamboanga City. Lawyer Moises Tamayo, National Bureau of Investigation Western Mindanao Director, told the Inquirer that the suspect, Floracero Albeo, a supervising examiner of the BIR's Revenue District Office number 15, was arrested on Friday after receiving marked money during an entrapment operation. Tamayo added that cases of robbery with extortion, intimidation, violation of the Tax Reform Act of 1997 and Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, and the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Government Officials and Employees had been filed against Albayo. Tamayo asked that the name of the business owner be withheld as they are still doing a follow-up investigation of the incident. Based on the complainant's sworn affidavit, a notice of discrepancy dated the 20th of April, 2022 signed by Revenue District Officer Malikumpa indicated tax liabilities for the period the 1st of January to the 31st of December, 2020 amounting to 30,716,845 pesos. Last the 13th of May, the business owner went to the BIR office to clarify and submitted documents to justify a lower tax assessment. On the 17th of May, Albayo allegedly told the business owner the tax liability can just go down to just 2 million pesos and could pay it until September this year, on condition she will pay an upfront SOP of 1 million pesos. SOP or Standard Operating Procedure has become the euphemism for bribe. The business owner was supposedly assured that after paying the 1 million pesos bribe, she will get a schedule of payment of her tax liability. The victim was also told that if she fails to comply with the demand, and if the business engages the services of a lawyer to settle the matter, the case will be sent to the regional office and she will be forced to pay the amount of 30,716,845 pesos. She was also warned about her business assets being frozen if she fails to settle the assessed tax liability. Worried, the business owner immediately paid for half of the demanded bribe. After some time, Albayo allegedly made regular calls to follow up on the remaining 500,000 pesos so that her case will not be forwarded to the regional office. The business owner eventually sensed she was being taken for a ride and sought the assistance of the NBI. A Malabon City barangay chairman was shot and killed in front of his house on Saturday morning. The suspects were identified as two men on board a motorcycle. Colonel Albert Barrett, police chief, said barangay Tonsiwao chairman Philemon Pilo Villanueva, 68, sustained gunshot wounds in the abdomen and left portion of his body. He was rushed to an undisclosed hospital where he underwent an operation but died from complications, Barrett said. Attending physicians placed the time of death at 4:30 p.m., police said. Barrett said the victim was sitting in front of his residence on C. Perez Street around 9:35 a.m. when he was attacked by the riders, a gunman. Case Officer Staff Sergeant Michael Oban said initial investigation showed the gunman approached the victim and shot him several times. A barangay chief was gunned down by still unidentified assailants in Barangay Elizabeth, Leyte Town, Leyte on Saturday afternoon, the 28th of May. Romeo Canas, chairman of Barangay Tagboan, was on board his motorcycle when the gunman approached and shot him. The perpetrator then boarded a motorcycle driven by another person and fled. The victim was first brought to the Rural Health Unit of Leyte but was referred to the Ormoc Sugar Plantation Association Hospital in Ormoc City. He did not make it alive. Police are conducting an investigation to identify the perpetrators and the motive behind the killing. A village chief and his two companions survived an ambush Sunday, the 29th of May, in Baguio Town, Cagayan Province. Captain Isabalita Gano, Cagayan Police spokesperson, identified the victims as Nangualatan Village Chief Bonifacio Cuarteras, Henry Buliag and Edmundo Sambo, all of Penablanca Town, in Cagayan. The unidentified motorcycle-riding armed men, who sped off after the attack, reportedly wore black jackets and bonnets. An initial investigation showed that Cuarteras and his companions had just left the Baguio cockpit arena aboard a car when attacked. The backrider repeatedly shot them but missed. An official of Isabela II Electric Cooperative, Iselco II, died on Monday morning, following the arrest of two gunmen who shot and killed Agnes Pauls, the newly hired internal auditor manager of the electric utility company in Iligan City. 59-year-old Michael Pagirigan, a member of the board of directors of Iselco II, died in his home in Iligan City early Monday. His wife, Ancita Pagirigan, found Michael in their living room. She later heard a gunshot and saw Michael oozing with blood. The victim was rushed to Isabela Doctors General Hospital but was declared dead on arrival. Michael is one of the suspects for the murder of Pauls, a resident of Chumoyani Town, who was promoted at Iselco II in March. Pauls allegedly discovered numerous undocumented transactions and suspicious cash withdrawals directly from the account of Iselco II without supporting documents, according to the affidavit of her husband. Coyan Regional Trial Court Branch 40 Judge Ariel Pulse, who was gunned down in Barangay San Felipe, Iligan City, on the 26th of May, relayed to her husband that the last of suspicious cash withdrawals were made by Iselco 2 General Manager David Siquian, amounting to 500,000 pesos, although in her report, half of the amount was returned. Meanwhile, Barry Bulin and Jervy Bulin, the 2 gunmen who were riding in tandem, have been arrested. However, Iselco 2's general manager, another suspect in Pulse's death, is still at large. A policeman died from multiple gunshot wounds on Tuesday morning after being shot by still unidentified gunmen in Matanao town, Davao del Sur. Captain Flor Daisianga, Matanao acting police chief, identified the victim as patrolman Harris Janadeo, 26, of Poblacion Bansalan, Davao del Sur. Anga said Adeo was attacked while on board his motorbike while heading to neighboring Hagonoy town from Bansalan, via the provincial road in Matanao town. Upon reaching Barangay Nuvisas in Matanao town, the gunmen on board a motorcycle fired at Adeo several times before speeding off. Responders brought Adeo to the Davao del Sur Provincial Hospital in Diga City, but attending physicians failed to revive him. Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara said on Thursday, the 2nd of June, he has approved the relief of the head and officers of the National Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Division, NBICCD, while they are undergoing probe on an alleged anomalous operation. NBI officer in charge Director Eric B. Desta had recommended the relief of Assistant Regional Director Victor V. Lorenzo, head of the NBI Cybercrime Investigation and Assessment Center, CIAC, and other officers of the NBICCD. I have informed OIC Chief Desta about my approval of his recommendation for the relief of the NBI personnel concerned. The order for the relief of Cybercrime Division personnel involved in the subject operation will come from the OIC Chief of the NBI, Guevara said. Guevara said he learned that the investigation by the NBI's Internal Affairs Division, NBI-IAD, concerns the service of a warrant to search, seize, and examine computer data in a certain establishment in Manila last the 31st of May where some alleged irregularities were observed. No further details could be given at this time, as the matter is being investigated by the IAD, he said. We just want to make sure that similar operations in the future will be conducted in a most professional way, he also said. He explained that the relief of officials is a standard operating procedure whenever any NBI official or agent is under investigation by the Internal Affairs Division in order to preserve the evidence and preclude any undue influence during the investigation. The Commission on Audit, COA, has called out the Commission on Human Rights, CHR, for hiring 130 consultants last year, with an aggregate contract cost of 24.457 million pesos. In its 2021 annual audit report, the COA noted that the contracts entered into by the CHR with the consultants had not undergone any market research. State auditors pointed out that when it comes to the hiring of consultants, market research is required under Republic Act 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act to determine the most advantageous terms and costs of contracts. The COA said the contracts were signed by the CHR without the approval of resident state auditors. None of the procurement process involving COS, contract of service, was witnessed by the resident COA, apparently disregarding the importance of transparency as the core principle of government procurement. The report read, the CHR admitted that the hiring of the consultants under the COS scheme did not undergo the required procurement process as the end user offices did all the works and later on approved by the Commission and Bank through the issuance of a resolution. The audit body said the CHR has agreed to remind its offices to follow the rules in the hiring of consultants under RA 9184. A school principal and an election officer, both women, survived separate ambuscades on Monday in Maguindanao, police said. In Barangay Malangat in Pandag, Baimhan Ambalgan, a Tacurong City resident and the principal of the Campo Elementary School, was driving her Honda Fit with her daughter, who's also a teacher, on board when they were ambushed at around 3 p.m. by gunmen on a motorbike. The principal was injured, according to Lieutenant Elmer Alacosa, Pandag Police Chief. 2 hours earlier, Jean Hankel, election officer of Datu Salibo town, was driving to nearby Datu Piang town at around 12:30 p.m. when she noticed a minivan partly blocking her path. Hankel told reporters later that she noticed something was wrong when the van did not move. She tried to maneuver around it, but as she did so, a gunman inside the van shot her. Her aide was slightly injured. Hankel sped away to bring her aid to a hospital in Datupiang, where the patient got first aid. She then proceeded to Midsayap in Cotabato province and sought help from an army detachment. She said she had been receiving threats before the incident and that she suspected the ambush was election related. She did not elaborate. Police authorities are urging a poll bet who claimed to have been the victim instead of the suspect in a shooting incident in Pasay, Negros Oriental during the 9th of May elections, to file a formal complaint against the incumbent mayor and his men. Provincial Police Director Colonel Germano Malari said Friday Pasay mayoral candidate Cliff Cordovilla has claimed through posts on social media that he and his companions were ambushed allegedly by men associated with Mayor Beda Canamak in the remote and hinterland barangay Cabaleongan on election day. Canamak, on the other hand, told police investigators that Cordovilla and his group fired at them while they were at the house of a supporter in that village. One of the mayor's supporters was injured and brought to the hospital. Malari said on the side of the mayor, a complaint was already filed against Cordovilla for frustrated murder. He also urged Cordovilla to coordinate with the town police and file a complaint to counter Canamak's allegation. The shooting in Pasay was the only election-related violent incident in the province, he said. That's all for this week. I'll see you next week with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.